Hey guys, Beast here, and today I want to go over one of the biggest sort of asked questions when I'm on the motorcycle is how big is that tank anyway? They can tell that it's not quite stock, obviously, especially with the Gen 1 that has a little bit different plastics down front here. The size, if you search the internet for IMS 10-gallon tanks, and maybe I'll pull one up and toss it in here, but the IMS 10-gallon takes up the exact same square footage space on the motorcycle for the Gen 2s at least, of the standard tank and then the plastics. So what all you're doing is you're taking advantage of all this free space that curls around, that protects the radiator on this side. The other side is the cooling reservoir. You're utilizing that space for gasoline, and immediately all I get is, oh my god, that is way too much, it's too big, etc. Let's just dive right into what happened 2 years ago when I was putting the install in and kind of how I covered it. Alright, well of course I can't install anything without taking it apart and knowing how it works. Now because the 10-gallon tank has a lifter pump in it, it's a vacuum operated pump. This is the piece that comes through the tank. There is a gasket on there, and this is a Mikuni vacuum pump, supposedly used on quite a bit of aircraft. But it is nice to see that there is a inline filter as it comes from the two ears that come into there. That splits off, and then what you're going to be looking at here. Alright, so at the bottom of each ear is this fitting, and this fitting has a small hole in it, as you can see, and that's what's sucking the gas up from each of the lower ears up the pump. And I just of course wanted to take it apart and make sure there's no plastic pieces, and so I just wanted to make sure that everything was clear, that these weren't, you know, filled in, anything like that. Everything is good. I really like it. I am going to disconnect it at the pump and then get those tightened down so that I don't have the hose is basically trying to twist itself. So following the advice of some other folks, one, it was sort of disappointing to see that these holes still have to be drilled out. It's on a lot of forums when this tank first came out that this holes aren't big enough to fit the actual piece. I'll show you one of the original KLR petcock to go in here. But so open that up just a little bit, which meant I had to drain it and flush it again to make sure I don't have any plastic particles in here. And I did take some 300 grit, like 160 to 300 grit for this area, just to make sure that the gasket that fits on here is going to be nice and smooth and flush. It wasn't horrible. I've heard some horror stories of these being pretty rough. I wouldn't say it was horribly rough, but I decided to smooth it out anyway while I was here, and then we'll fit the Yamaha petcock back. All right, attaching a longer fuel line onto the pump down here. That way you can actually pump into the tank. Quick little test to see if everything's working before you shove this back in there. We'll give it a quick start. That's about the flow that you're going to be looking at, if you can hear me. This is very low RPM, very cold bike. Alright, seems to be working fine. We'll replace the longer hose here with a shorter piece and be good to go. Alright, just doing some test fitting on here, but I want to say one of the things, the reason you go through all this hassle and you screw around with new products is you discover that, you know, the nut that's screwed on that pump is an 18mm, which is the same as my spark plug wrench. So now I know I don't have to carry a larger socket just for that silly pump, and I use my Allen key set to wrench it down. That's why you go through the hassle of screwing around with a perfectly good product. Now, as you saw, it does have the vacuum lifter pump in it. Here's the vacuum line running from the carburetor. You've got two mounting bolts back here, just like your stock one did. However, my biggest issue were the wings here. So you saw there's a support bracket up above here. There was nothing, the brackets that came with this thing did not even come close to fitting. So what I did over the years, I've actually switched to the Happy Trails sort of internal radiator support armor, I guess you'd call it. May do a separate video on that, but I've got a clamp onto it, and then I've just got an L bracket that I made myself to hold this wing in. I actually should bring it in just a little bit because the support bar isn't even touching right now. But as you can see, you smack that thing, it's not moving in. So this will more likely break or something before you damage anything on the radiator. All right, now here's the right side. Unfortunately, there's not much to secure it over here. I've got it hooked to the lower bolt bracket of the cooling reservoir. The cooling reservoir is actually broken over there, and I'm going to look to replace it when I get this all apart. However, it's still attached there, and then it attaches to this screw up front. Now what you're seeing here, especially with all this epoxy, is I had a bolt that wiggled loose on the trail, so I used an older bolt that fit fine. It worked great. However, during a crash, it sheared off, and it left all the threaded piece in here. Now, what you saw in the install is those are all just brass inserts that are inserted into the molding process when that happens. There isn't much you can do about that. That softer brass metal wants to chew up a lot quicker than the steel screw threads that were in there. So I did my best to try to get it out. I tried drilling it out. What I ended up having to do is drill it out a little bit larger, and then I was epoxying in a T-nut into there, and that's worked pretty good. However, anytime you wreck, it seems that that epoxy can't hold the T-nut in there. I'll throw in some photos if I have one of what that is there. So I've got to come up with a slightly better solution or long-term solution, because I'd hate to just replace the entire thing. All right, what you're looking at is the snake skins. This is from Tech Spec. I've got these from Twisted Throttle, and a lot of racers use these just to add a little bit inside grip with your knees. The issue I had is this plastic is so slippery that when you stand up, when you're trying to squeeze the tank, that has the same profile that the stock tank does. So it's not any wider, it's not any skinnier. It feels great when you stand up on the pegs. However, you need to have a little bit of grip so you can put your knees on the tank and grip it, especially when going up steep hills, things like that. This has made a huge difference. It was a very big annoyance when I first switched to the plastic IMS tank. All right, guys, just for giggles here, put the stock one over there. There is the obviously the bigger one. As you can see, same form factor, same sort of scalloping, same width at your knee. You're just utilizing all this extra space. And honestly, where would you rather have all this extra weight? Say, for instance, you don't have to fill this up to 10 gallons. There's no rule that says you have to put 10 gallons in it all the time. Now, I often do on some of my bigger trips. One, I want to kind of calculate my miles per gallon. It's just easier if I fill up every time. And two, like you've seen, I'm in the middle of Nevada backcountry, in the middle of nowhere, and this 2-track goes up into the hills, and I want to know where it goes. But normally, I wouldn't really take that road because I was super pressed on gas and limit on my range. Even with the 6 gallon, when I'm loaded up full of luggage, I'm usually averaging high 30s, low 40s on the older KLR motor. That may change when I get the newer motor in here. So what I did was I carried a Rotopax. Go watch that review. I absolutely love the Rotopax. However, it carries the weight very high and up on the tail somewhere. So where do you want the weight? If I only put 6 gallons in this huge 10 gallon, all that weight is going to be nice and low. It's going to be sitting in those front lobes and sitting right over there. What do you do when you go around a corner really fast? You stick your foot out to try to weight that front wheel to keep it from sliding. Where do you want your weight? Nice and forward and nice and low. And the IMS tank absolutely handles that beautifully. So if you were going to build a tank, where would you put it? You know, are you going to try to put it as high as possible? That doesn't seem like it makes a whole lot of sense. As you can see, not much of the stock one comes below the front there. If you could get all the gas you wanted and put it down here and have all the weight down low and forward to the front tire, how much better would your handling be in sort of high-speed gravel turns? And that's what I accomplished with the IMS 10 gallon. All right, now as far as the tank goes, you can get the stock sort of filler cap addition of this to fit on here. I decided to go with the old screw cap. It doesn't lock. I do wish they'd come out with a locking gas cap. You have to deal with the vent. I do have the one-way sort of ball valve venting on here. It will leak a little bit, but it didn't leak as bad as my stock one. Anytime I wrecked in the stock one, gas went everywhere. And this is just a very small trickle. So it's much better than the old one. Quick modification allows you to use any of the sort of gas mesh systems. So if I'm doing a big trip, I'll just simply drop this in, and then it'll capture any sort of dust or particulates if you're in the middle of like Nevada, or you're going to Mexico, Baja, around the world. That way all your gas stays clean, and it's a quick modification. You just have to pull off the inside cap. If it's a little bit more than modification that you want to do, you can have the folks at Just Gas Tanks do it for you, and that's where I purchased them, this tank from. Got to tell you, great working with those guys. I really wish that I could probably pick up a second one simply because of that bolt issue that I've got on the right side that I've got to epoxy a T-nut into. But yeah, hands down, great working with the Just Gas Tanks guys. I'll put a link down below where I picked this up. But I've had very little issues with the lifter pump failing. Every once in a while, I think it will. Just check your vacuum leak. You guys watched my tool video. In the tool video, I carry spare diaphragms for that, and I've got the tools. I can pull this out. Now if this thing's totally full of gas all the way up to the top, then you're not having to worry about that lifter tank anyway. If you do need to change out that diaphragm, just wait till the gas gets low enough that it's an issue, and then you can pull that out without gas spilling it, and you don't even really need to remove it from the motorcycle. Doing a quick test with a little bit longer hose is pretty easy. It's nice to have the so almost like a double filter system. There is a filter in line that you saw on there. I put in a quick photo of what that first one looked like. I have replaced it already, and it did pick up some extra particulates I wasn't able to wash out of this, some plastic pieces, and just some dirt and sand and things. So if you think your gas is totally clean to where you're getting it, it's quite fun to do an experiment and try one of these, and I highly recommend it, especially if you're doing a bigger trip around the world or you're getting suspect gas somewhere. But I'm completely happy with it. Now, when this thing is totally full, is it heavier than sin and you're going through sandy sections? Sure. You guys watch my videos and you watch some of my comments that I make. If I'm going through a sandy section, it may not look that bad on the video, but you may not realize that not only do I have full gear, but I have 10 gallons of gas in here. And so, yeah, it's a little bit of extra wobble. You're not going to be pulling wheelies like riding with Tom through the backcountry of the outback of Australia. But I love it. Hands down, it opens up a lot more luggage in the back. You're not having to deal with gas. You don't have to worry about anything with this thing. It is absolutely mind-blowing how much that frees you to just wander endlessly. All right, wear and tear? Yeah, definitely. Few scratches, few crashes. You can definitely tell these don't come through, but they've held up very well. Take a look at the other side. Again, same sort of scratches, dings. You guys know that I'm not usually a highway queen. I don't really mind. That one's a pretty good gash, but it doesn't come through for sure. So I'll clean that up and keep an eye on it. But yeah, flawless so far. This has been Beast with the IMS 10-gallon tank, guys. I love it. And if you think it's expensive for $500 some, whatever it is for the KLR, just price out any other bikes. Go look at a KTM 950, a 990, or any other of the bikes if you're looking for a safari tank. It is easily double, triple the cost of this thing. So for the KLR to get a $500 tank is not that bad compared to some of the other bikes out there on the market, and it gives you tremendous range. Thanks for watching, guys. Hey guys, just want to give you a huge thank you for the continued support that you always give me. We'll be putting out more content as always, everything from the high Arctic down to Antarctica and everywhere in between for our adventures on two wheels. We'll catch you down the road. Thanks again, guys.